Hey guys, and welcome back to Regret Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, I tried to tell a Brexiter a joke a couple of days ago. Simple joke. My dad is a bus driver and he works around Big Ben. So he's always working around the clock. And the Brexiters scratched their head and said, I don't get it. I don't get it. We are in the United Kingdom, a country where your politicians, 95% of them hate the people of this country because you're a bunch of dirty fingernailed working class twats and they'd love to send your children up chimneys if they could. But we have to start with Britain and America have decided what they're going to do is they're going to bomb the Yemen. The Yemen, one of the only countries who are standing up and saying, we are taking this action because Israel is committing a genocide. It just surprised me, that we're bombing the Yemen. Why we don't bomb South Africa as well? You know, say, well, South Africa, you need to stop taking the action you're taking because South Africa has taken them to the International Court at The Hague at the moment. Right, so we've had. I think Israelis gave their defence yesterday. So we're going to, hopefully we might get some type of judgment next week. So because the South Africans are accusing Israel of genocide. Now the thing is, right, out of all the people, the South Africans are the people who would know because they had an apartheid committed on them for decades. And, we're up to 8 decades now where Israel have been committing an apartheid on the Palestinians, right? So it's only right that someone in the world decides, you know what, this is too much what Israel are doing, and tries to rein them in, as Yemen have done. And what has Britain done? Britain has done the old-fashioned. If you was getting a beat down from three people, a proper beat down, and you had two friends with you, right? But the only thing is, the people who was beating you down, they had like 3 or 4 friends, right, that was holding back your two friends while the other three gave you a good beat down. That is what Britain and America are doing. Stepping over the 30,000 dead Palestinians, including over 10,000 dead children. Stepping over them. We want to protect our shipping. Our shipping, right? We're still policing the world and then telling people, don't you come here. Because the only thing we've got for you is bullets and bombs. We've got nothing else for you. We don't have shelter. We certainly do not have shelter for you. Not in this good old Christian nation. We certainly don't have shelter. But you know what? We'll kill your whole family from 2 miles in the sky. Britain and America should really feel ashamed of themselves. They're stepping in so that Israel can continue their genocide. Instead of saying to Israel, listen, you know what, you need to rein this in now. You need to stop. You need to stop. You've murdered far too many people as it is. You need to stop. Look, international shipping has been disrupted. Just amazing how Britain and America just say, well, this is international waters. Waters that run it's Sudan on one side, where this is Sudan on one side, and then on the other side you've got Yemen. Yet for all, Britain and America, right, and a couple of their allies, including Australia, one of the most racist countries on the face of the earth. Right? But these people are go around the world and tell people, listen, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, you must do this, you must do that. Telling the people right where they're in their own waters. Oh, that's international waters. Could a country come and tell us about the channel? Oh, it's one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Could a country come and say to us, well, actually, that shipping channel, right? It has to be kept, open all the time. If we wanted to close it, I'm sure we could close the English Channel if we wanted to. And and who would come and say, well, you know something? I mean, would the Russians come and say, well, you can't do that. We're going to bomb you if you do that. Right? So, but that's what we do. We expect that we can go all over the world and tell whoever they are what they can do and what they can't do. But you know what? We will not shelter anybody. As far as we're concerned, right, you can stay right where you are, right? And if it so happens that you're going to get murdered by your government, then so be it. We'll leave you with the Taliban and not give a shit about you. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me. A special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. And we have to start with, well, I was going to say we have to start with one of the most important stories in the world. But I mean, the Yemen story, us bombing the hell out of Yemen, right, to protect a genocidal regime in Israel is just one of the most and racist, just disgusting and racist. Right, just a horrible situation that this country and America has gone and put itself in. And I don't see how. I just don't understand how these people. They don't even know how they sleep at night. But you see, the thing is, yeah, all of them are all behind it. Whether it's Starmer, Sunak, Biden, yeah, you know what? Yeah, well, actually, I suppose Trump will definitely be with Israel, but not with the Ukraine. Right, but when it goes, because you're talking about brown people, isn't it? So obviously he'll be like Trump would be straight on that and say, Israel, you're allowed to do what you want, whether that is ethnic cleansing, holding back food, right? Making people relocate and then bombing the places where they're relocating to, bombing refugee centers, claiming that that 70 or 80 or 90% of the buildings in Gaza have got tunnels underneath them, all of that. But one of the most important stories in the world is Donald Trump sent by God. I don't know if you've seen the video, but the video is absolutely hilarious. Donald Trump, I don't know if he done it or he had it commissioned. I don't know where it's come from, but this video has come out with saying Donald Trump sent by God. I sometimes wonder, if these evangelicals, have actually read any part of the actual Bible, or have they actually, is there like maybe have they got their own version of a Bible that they might be reading? Because if you think, well, okay, well, I mean, God first. Now, I'm a non-believer, so this is all fiction to me, right? But I will say, that I have read up about Jesus. Yeah. So I do know that Jesus Christ was actually a real person. Whether or not he was the Son of God, I mean, that's something completely different, isn't it, really? Just because none of us will ever know now until obviously, we feel the fresh breath of the angels. But I have looked up on Jesus, so I know that he, as I said, and there is a grave, and he has got a grave. I've never looked up Muhammad. I should have, but I have. I don't know, but I just never have. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not, to be honest, I'm not really interested in people's religion. Do you know what I mean? If people want to believe in that, then that's down to them. Do you know what I mean? But that's not something that I'm really interested in, right? But so I've never looked up Muhammad, right? But I mean, if we compare, I mean, Donald Trump. I mean, is there any comparison between Donald Trump and Jesus? I mean, I'm just trying to think of anything that I remember I was brought up with black Jesus in my house because that's the Jesus we was brought up with, a picture of black Jesus. right? But I mean, is there anything? I mean, I suppose the Bible is a very violent. It is very very violent. The Bible, but I'm just trying to say, there's nothing in there that says Donald Trump, right, and Jesus are anything alike. Anything alike. I don't understand. I don't know too much about Muhammad, right? So I'm not even going to speculate on whether or not Donald Trump and Muhammad are the same. But I can tell you, yeah, that if we're looking at Jesus Christ, then we've got to say, well, hold on a minute. There's no way, right, that you could be the son of God when that guy was the son of God. Just it just wouldn't match up. I mean, you would have to be, God's wife must have been playing away. Right? And then God thought, you know what? I'm gonna send this guy because I don't want him anywhere near me. So I'm gonna send him down so he can be with the people that I have powers over. Is Donald Trump sent by God? No. But then again, these are people who are that, the evangelicals are like guns and God. And, must not have an abortion. And then when the child's born, they go, we hate your children, can't stand them, and would not do anything to. In fact, they would allow people to go into a school with very small children and smoke a whole heap of them, right, with a military style weapon. The same evangelicals, right, who will tell you about, women shouldn't be allowed to have abortions. Just amazing me that they, on the one hand, there's that women mustn't have an abortion. And when someone goes in and kills a lot of children, it's good, like, this is not the time to speak about gun violence. It's a terrible situation. Sven Goran Eriksson has got terminal cancer, and he reckons he's only got like a year to live, which is very, very sad because Sven was all right. A really, really decent manager, and I think he's only like something like 76 or something like that, But I think that Sven Goran Eriksson is a real fighter, and I just have this feeling that he's one of them people. He's going to fight it and fight it for as long as he can, and he's going to be here a lot longer than another year. That's the feeling I've got with him. Britain is in need of 152 social care workers is needed in this country. And we say to the people who come over here to look after the fat backsides of the British people, we say to them, you come over by yourself, don't bring your own family. Let them stay over there. You come over, look after us, right? Leave your family right where they are. This is one of the reasons why, especially because I don't know if they've actually brought that in yet, but that's really not gonna help the situation, and being a carer, although a very vital job, it's not a professional job, unfortunately. It's a very, very vital job, but it's not a professional job. I believe they're going to try and make it into some type of professional job. But at the end of the day, it's a carer. Do you know what I mean? You can give it off, like, you can give it a fancy title, but still, it's wiping someone's backside. So whatever funny title or clever title or witty title you want to give it, I mean, you can even say to people, well, you need a university degree to do it. That would really be taking the piss. But it's I'm quite sure that Boris Johnson said that he had a plan for social care. But then Boris Johnson said a lot of things, didn't he? And people went and voted for him, and now they can't pay their housing costs. Very, very sad. The situation gets even worse. The UK's largest housing association has been fined thousands of pounds for not dealing with problems reported by tenants, like mice, whether it's mice, mold, cockroaches, all these type of things. So the government has decided to come out and fine these people a huge amount of money. But speaking about housing, because we've got we're spending £2 billion a year on temporary housing, and that's, I think, in excess of like 100,000 families, right? And we're spending like 2 billion. I think that the cost of that has doubled in the past 5 years, right? So we can expect in another 5 years, right, that'll be up to 4 billion. And you say, well, why are you putting all those people in temporary housing? Why so much people in temporary housing, right? When you know on a yearly basis, I mean, how much houses can be built with that type of money? But then when you look at that bill, right? When you think about that, the bill's 100, the over 100,000 families, and that bill is over about £2 billion, which is what it's probably about what, £5.5 million a day. £5.5 million a day, right? 100,000 families in overpriced temporary accommodation, right? And then we've got the migrant bill, I believe, is around £8 billion a day, right? And the migrant numbers are, I mean, they might be around 50,000. 50,000. That's what the migrant, I'm sure that's what the type of numbers they are. But the migrant bill is £8 million a day. Why don't they give us the figure over a year for that one? Because that figure of £8 million a day will be what? 2 billion 900 2 billion 900 million, 10 or 20 million, give or take 10 or 20 million, right? So how comes, right, we are paying, right, more than, over nearly £1 billion more for the migrant, nearly £1 billion more, right? Because it's 2 billion for our temporary accommodation to house the Brexit temporary, 2 billion. All this money, right, is going into the private sector. A lot of this money is going into council houses that have been sold off, and they're just renting them back on the temporary basis. And then we've got them housing migrants in accommodation, right? I mean, the BB Stockholm is one of the most expensive accommodations in this country. You stay on that for one night. It's one of the most expensive accommodations in this country. It's more to stay on the BB Stockholm than it is to stay on the Ritz, the Savoy. It costs you more to stay on the BB Stockholm. You couldn't get, but by the way, you couldn't get a cabin on there, but it would cost you more. How is this? What kind of way is this to run an economy? Why don't they just build the accommodation, right? They build their accommodation so people can have permanent accommodation. Then they can get on with their life, start getting jobs, having firm places for their kids in school. And they're living in temporary accommodation with all their kids and all them things there. Their life is a complete mess. They can't work or nothing like that because they'll lose their temporary accommodation because because they wouldn't be able to afford that temporary accommodation themselves. So it's just amazing that this literal bashful waste of money all over the place in this country, just all over the place. But they're not telling you the figures. They're giving you the figures on a daily basis for the migrants. Look at that, 8 million a day, or as opposed to 2 billion to house temporary people, to house people in temporary accommodation. 2 billion, right? Let's just go with nearly 3 billion to house 48,000, 50,000 migrants. And these people are very competent with money. They're good with it. And Britain is broke, remember. We can, afford to fire off Tomahawk missiles that cost probably £25,000 each. And, and house people in temporary accommodation for £2 billion a year, and hire migrants in temporary accommodation for nearly £3 billion a year. But they're good with money. But let's speak about some Brexit, because I should do that before I go. The UK stock market has been destroyed. People are pulling out billions and billions of pounds out of Britain, right? On a debt, well, when you're pulling out billions, it's going to be on a daily basis, because you pull it all out. But it's all on paper anyway, right? But that's what's happening with our stock market. Most people in this country, they're not really aware of the stock market, because it doesn't really affect them. I mean, it's something that they just hear about, but they don't really know that much about it. But this is a very, very serious situation, because Britain has fallen so far behind the rest of the world, and the government is just continuously lying, talking about they're going to be able to grow. They can't grow anything, especially with the billions people are pulling out, because our stock market has been destroyed because of Brexit. Thousands of restaurants are closing across the UK, and they are blaming Brexit for the higher prices, the soaring costs of running their business, right? And plus, obviously, a lack of staff, because they can't rely on on EU workers no more. So there is a serious lack of workers, and the only people who can do a lot of that work happens to be British people, because you know what it was like. We voted Brexit, so British people can do all the minimum wage jobs, and all of the people that do come to this country will all be your boss, because they're all high flyers. Because remember, it's something like £32,000 or something like that. So if you're not earning more than that, then expect the person who comes in from wherever in the world, if they're coming in and earning more money than you, then they've got a higher status in that business than you, and they're more than likely going to be your boss. The UK will be £311 billion worse off by 2023 due to leaving the EU. And that's one hell of a lot of money. And these government ministers are still telling you. I mean, even Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's the Minister for Brexit Opportunities, could not come up with no Brexit opportunities. He's still running off his mouth on Facebook, on Twitter, or X, as they like to call it. I still call it Twitter. But even even Jacob Rees-Mogg couldn't come up with no. I mean, I even heard that Richard Tice yesterday, on LBC, talking about, I mean, first of all, he said, I tried to get through to speak to him as well, because first of all, I heard him say some derogative things about socialists, and I wanted to say to him, well, does that mean that if you ever get into power, that you're going to stop all the politicians from living on socialism, and you yourself are not going to live off the state, especially as you was left a bag of money by his grandparents. I mean, he left a lot of money, Richard Tice, by his grandparents, right? But so I wanted to ask him that question, right? And I also wanted to ask him, because he's still saying that we haven't taken advantage of the Brexit opportunities. I really want to say to him, what are the Brexit opportunities? Just those two questions, right? Are you going to stop all those politicians living on socialism if you ever get into power? Will you live on socialism if you get into power? Right? And what's the Brexit opportunities, man? That was it. And I couldn't get through. Anyway, my friends, I'm going to wrap this up now. But this is one of my very rare Saturday videos. I should really call this, by any means necessary, after dark, because it is getting dark outside. My friends, I'm going to wrap this up now. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.